Hiya. Good morning, everyone. May I please have your attention as we begin this morning's event. So it's my very big pleasure to welcome you here this morning for the Future Health Research and Innovation Fund Open Day at Edith Cowan's Joondalup campus. My name is Krista Novak and I'm a Director at the WA Department of Health for the Office of Population Health Genomics. My background is in medical research. I used to try to discover disease genes and then develop animal models so that I could evaluate potential therapies. But my current team at the department oversaw the development of the WA Genomics Strategy 2022 to 2032, and its title is Towards Precision Medicine and Precision Public Health. And my team is now overseeing the implementation of this 10-year strategy. And previously we were the Secretariat for the former Minister of Health's Precision Health Council. So it's my great pleasure to be your MC for today's event, the Future Health and Research Innovation Fund Open Day, which is co-hosted by the Office of Medical Research Innovation from the WA Department of Health and Edith Cowan University. And as you, I'm sure, very aware, today's theme is precision health, which is why I gave you a few little connections and indication of my strong interest in this topic. Precision health initiatives tailor preventative, management and therapeutic approaches to individuals or populations using knowledge of the variation of multiple parameters. These parameters include genomics, my particular favourite topic, and other omics, health risk, health and wellbeing outcomes, physiology, responses to the environment, socio-demographic, cultural and or lifestyle factors, and the surrounding context. And during this morning, you'll hear from a number of speakers who will talk to you about the areas of precision health that they have been working in to broaden your horizons about this really innovative topic. Firstly, though, I would like to introduce Mr. Danny Ford, OAM, who is going to provide us with a welcome to country. Danny is a senior Whadjuk custodian with about 30 years in government, and he's worked at the Department of Communities, Housing and Aboriginal Affairs, and he has qualifications in social work and teaching. And for about the last 14 years, he has been Director of the Camberang Services. So please give a very warm welcome to Danny.
Thanks, Kristen. Hi, everyone. As Kristen said, my name's Danny Ford. The Ford family is not a big family, but my grandparents are Garletts, Blurtons and Picketts. And if you go even further up than that, you've got Bennells and Indigenous areas, so that kind of connects up to most of the southwest of WA. Makes it hard to find a Noongar wife, I tell you that. So I did have a crack at trying to find a non-related wife, but despite all that, failed. But anyway, too late. After 2 kids, 10 grandkids, too late. So, yeah, thanks for the opportunity to do the welcome today. I don't come this far I'm a South River boy, so coming this far, like you need a passport to come this far. In fact, where we are now is still Whadjuk country, from what we can tell. I'm a descendant of the Whadjuk people. A little bit further on is the Anangu people, which is another clan of Noongar country. So, but when you mentioned about OAM, and I often forget about it, and I remember, because it come out of the blue, and I remember when I was offered it, I was thinking, because you get an email saying, oh, you've been nominated, would you accept the nomination? And I'm thinking, oh, they're trying to buy me out here now with little trinkets, and because I haven't been anti-government, but I mean anti where we are right now, if that makes sense. And so anyway, after a bit of a while, I said, yeah, I'll have a crack at it. And so I said, yeah, I'll take it. And then they come back to you and they say, this what they've said about you, is it true? So, and when I read it, I said, that's only a minuscule of what I've done in my life. So I said, yeah, if you're going to give me an OAM based on that, I'll take it. So, and then I noticed that Shane Howard, the lead singer of Goanna Band, handed his back in protest to the referendum, the no vote in the referendum. I thought about it for about half a second. No, I'll hang on to mine. So it makes a nice little thing on the bookshelf there. And my grandkids, they're still confused about what I've got. So they've been telling people, oh, Pop got the OMG medal. So oh my God, somebody give Pop something. So anyway, and I noticed that obviously it's a research and innovative innovation day today, so don't forget about researching. Not that we need more researching, us black fellas, but I think certainly there's a lot needs to be done. I think Daniel McCall is here, so I don't think it'll be missed around that. So make sure the Aboriginal voice is front and centre in that. You give us a voice the other day, so make sure it's here today as well. Does that make sense? I've got to say, I'm in a post-referendum mindset right now, so I just really think Australia missed a golden opportunity to have a conversation with us. So anyway, it is what it is. And the thing about it, though, and I was talking to Kristen earlier, that basically Aboriginal people have been here for 60,000 years. We ain't going away. And what happened the other day was just a little tiny speed bump. And the thing I love about my people, our strength, our resilience and our courage will carry us through for the next 60,000+, whatever it's going to be. And we'll always be here, with or without the support of the rest of Australia, I guess. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. 40% of Australia thought it was a good idea. So I've got to take absolute encouragement from that. Here's the reality, though, and don't take this the wrong way. We have to wait for half the golden triangle to pass on, because your grandkids will see it as a no-brainer. It will absolutely be a no-brainer for your grandkids. And that, in fact, they look back and say, oh, wasn't that dumb of our grandparents to think of that? And Australia is so far behind the rest of the world. We are the only nation in the world that has an Indigenous population that doesn't have a treaty with them. The only one. And the only one, I think, pretty sure, that doesn't acknowledge them in the Constitution as well, by the way. So we'll catch up. Australia will mature. Your grandkids will make sure of that. So anyway, my little company, Canberang, we do a lot of cultural awareness training, writing reconciliation, I'm just putting a plug in for myself here now, write reconciliation action plans, all that kind of stuff. We need more work. The more work we get, the more people we can employ. We print these kind of things as well, signage and all that stuff. So let us know if you need any of that. And if you want to help out a little Aboriginal business, we can do that for you. Why do we need to do welcome to countries? And often get asked this, and you may have heard the reasons why from other people who've done welcomes. When you go to someone's house, there's a protocol, and it's an ancient protocol, by the way, of all human societies in the history of humans. You have to knock on the door. Or if it's a cave, remember you guys used to be cave people one stage of the game, you just can't walk on someone's cave if you know it's occupied. There's a process, there's a protocol. You have to let the person know, basically saying, I'm here, can I come in? Because when you open the door, after the person knocked on the door, they can't walk in until you invite them in. So it's simply basic. And the reason why I'm saying this, every now and then I get this question, why do you have to keep doing welcome to countries? Because even though that person let you in last week, that means you can't walk in this week. You still have to be welcomed into that person's private space in those way there. And when you go into someone's home, the difference is your home is 300 squares. My home used to be on 300 square miles. It's the same concept of home. You're coming into my private space. And so if you're going to come into my space, I'm going to tell you as a male, there's a woman's side over there, you can't go over there. As a female, there's a male side, you can't be there. I'm going to help you be safe on my country. The same when you walk into someone's house. When you walk into someone's house, where don't you normally go? I'll take an answer. The bedroom's out. Depends what you're there for, but generally got to go into the neutral places, which is the kitchen and the lounge. You can't go into the taboo places, the private places. No different, folks. No different in that way there. So on that basis, Wanju, Nicha, Nyunga, Wajat, Buja, welcome to the land of Wajat people. I was saying to Kristen earlier, I grew up in a time when Noongar culture wasn't encouraged. So I didn't get the chance to learn my language and my sacred sites, all that kind of stuff. But it's really different for kids these days. And someone mentioned the Wesley College and the stuff that they're doing with the school and the language lessons. They're even teaching language in a private school, which means the kids coming out of today, the children of the captains of industry and people who are going to be the playmakers in the dominant culture will have a completely different view from the people who've gone to that school 20 years before. So my son, the thing about it though, my son speaks Noongar fluently. clearly is the resurgence of culture in the Aboriginal world, right across Australia, by the way. So my uncle Sealan Garlett, he heard me lament one day that I didn't know Noongar language, so he rang me up one day and said, "Come around for a cup of coffee or tea," he's a tea drinker. So I went around to his house and he said, "I want you to write these words down. I want you to say them at welcomes. Nyunga buja, kaya wanji buja, borninya nyunga mot, nonakot yul, kor wajak, jinagaring, kora, nishijen nalanga, balanjin lemon na manga." And what he said was, "Hello and welcome to the land of the Wajak Noongar people. The people of the land have walked in this place for a long time. Their feet have followed the footsteps of their grandfathers and their grandmothers." And just conjured this image that before all this, people walked here, people lived here for thousands of years. And I always think about my ancestors in that way. So anyway, thanks very much for let me do my little welcome there and my little whinge about the referendum. And hopefully when we have another crack at it in 10 years' time that we have a different result. So thanks very much. Take care, folks.
Oh, does that mean that? Oh, sorry, Danny. Thank you, a sincere thank you for that wonderful welcome to country. And it is our privilege to be here today on Wajak country, and I would like to pay respects to the elders past, present and emerging. So we have a vast number of you here in the actual auditorium, and we've also got almost the same number of people virtually, so welcome to you as well. But first of all, just some quick housekeeping items for the people that are here in the auditorium. The fire exits are located at both ends of the room, and in the rare instance of an emergency, please follow the auditorium staff for directions. The toilets are just situated outside the doors of the entrance, and follow the corridor down to your left. And finally, if you haven't already done so, please turn your mobiles to silent or to off. Now, back to the formal proceedings. I would like to acknowledge the Minister of Medical Research, the Honourable Stephen Dawson, MLC, Professor Caroline Finch, AO, who is Edith Cowan University's Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Research, Professor Arshed Amari, Edith Cowan University's Senior Deputy Vice-Chancellor, members of the Future Health Research and Innovation Fund Advisory Council who are here as well, and other special guests. The open days for the Future Health Research and Innovation Fund, which from now on I'll call the FHRI Fund, which I think we know it quite affectionately as, mark the start of each of the FHRI Fund's funding cycles, which are scheduled in March, July and in November, as you probably well know by now. The purpose of today's open day is to provide you with the opportunity to hear about exciting WA research and innovation programs, with a particular focus on our theme being precision health. It is also an opportunity to hear about the FHRI Fund programs and initiatives from recently awarded recipients of the fund, as well as to provide a chance to engage with the FHRI Fund's Advisory Council members, staff from the Office of Medical Research and Innovation at the Department, and the wider WA Health and Medical Research community. Now, I'm extremely pleased to welcome to you the Honourable Stephen Dawson MLC to deliver the opening address. And in addition to being the Minister for Medical Research, Minister Dawson is the Minister for Emergency Services, Innovation and the Digital Economy and Science, and he is also the Minister assisting the Minister for State and Industry Development, Jobs and Trade. So please give a very enthusiastic welcome to Minister Dawson.
Thanks, Kirsten. Good morning, everybody. Can I start off by saying Nala Kadich Wajub Nyunga Mort Kain Kadak Nijbuja? Can I too acknowledge that we're on the land of the Wajub people of the Noongar Nation and pay my respects to elders past, present, emerging, and thank you, Danny, for your welcome to country this morning. Can I also acknowledge Professor Caroline Finch, AO, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Research of Edith Cowan University. Can I acknowledge Professor Simon Laws, the Associate Dean and Director, the Centre of Precision Health at ECU, to the members of the board who are here, the FHRI Fund Advisory Council here this morning, Dale Fisher, Kane Blackman and Dr. Maureen McKinnon, and to everybody else, thank you for making the trip out to Joondalup this morning. It's my pleasure on behalf of the State Government to formally open this event today. As we heard, these types of open day have been a fairly new initiative for the fund. Certainly from my perspective as Minister, I wanted the fund and indeed the Advisory Council to be accessible to researchers right across the state. Of course, over the last few years, the fund has dished out, if I can use that word, about $90 million to researchers and to innovators right across Western Australia. And over the next 4 years, we have about $250 million in funding available to continue to grow the ecosystem in Western Australia. Already in this room this morning, we have many amazing researchers, and hopefully the fund will allow more up-and-coming researchers to make it and to bring their research, to translate their research, and indeed to create new innovations, new medical products that I think will make a difference to the lives of Western Australians, but of course more broadly to the lives of Australians and indeed people around the world. Today we are focused on precision health. And so we will hear from speakers in relation to precision health. But just over the last few months, since the last funding cycle in July, we recently announced 10 individual recipients of innovation fellowships, sharing in over $1.3 million to build their innovation capacity and capability. And of these, 4 are based right here at ECU. And we'll be using this funding to develop early stage processes, products, or services that address current issues in the field of healthcare. Now, these researchers will be working on some truly cutting-edge ideas, including 3D printed food for patients on texture-modified diets, transdermal lithium treatments for bipolar affective disorders, electrical brain stimulation to enhance injury recovery, and even an artificial intelligence-enhanced stethoscope. And so we've also then, over the last few months, announced some funding through our Innovation Seed Fund, which helps ideas with commercial potential attract further investment. And so from this fund, we recently awarded 9 startup companies with about $4.3 million between them. And these projects are broad in scope, from early detection of fetal distress during labour, to treating glue ear in young children, to RNA-based therapy for liver cancer, and therapies to slow or even halt Alzheimer's disease. So a broad range of research and innovation that I think can make a difference to the lives of people in this state. So given our venue today, it's also an excellent opportunity to hear about some of the exciting health and medical research and innovation that is underway in the university sector. And so, as I mentioned, we'll be hearing from Professor Simon Laws, who is the Director of Precision Health at ECU. And the centre here is focused on progressing a move away from one-size-fits-all healthcare to more effective, personalised solutions. And key priority areas include cancer diagnostics, neurological conditions, and other chronic and metabolic conditions. And we'll also hear from some previous recipients of FHRI Fund Near Miss Awards, which is one of the programs being launched today for the November funding cycle. So please do stay on to hear more about these exciting initiatives. I think it's an incredibly exciting time to be in research in Western Australia. And recently, of course, we launched our 10-year WA Health and Medical Research Strategy. And since July, a dedicated team at the Department of Health has been establishing the governance and implementation plans for our strategy. Our vision, certainly my vision, is for WA researchers to conduct internationally recognised, impactful research that is put into practice for healthier communities. And I think by working together towards this goal for Western Australia, we will enhance our position on a global stage. And so far we've established a sector advisory panel that comprises some of the state's leading minds from across universities, hospitals, research institutes, philanthropic organisations, and also industry, who are guiding the implementation of our strategy. There are plans in place to create a centralised online platform that brings the sector together to showcase to the world our strengths, but also the opportunities that exist in health and medical research in Western Australia. And we're working to develop a framework for engaging the sector in regular conversations about health and medical research and innovation. Likewise, we are sparking conversations to explore some of our biggest challenges, including future-proofing our health and medical research workforce, partnering with philanthropy to drive investment, and also supporting our researchers to improve their competitiveness in national funding schemes. Today, as I mentioned, our theme is precision health, a topic of great importance to our hosts at ECU and across the WA health and medical life sciences and research and innovation sector. Precision health is also a key objective of the strategy. It means better predictions of disease risk, evaluation of treatment responses, and in turn that means medical staff who are better equipped and ultimately a healthier Western Australia. And of course, the precursor to such a noble goal is a robust, unified and globally recognised WA health and medical research ecosystem, which our strategy lays the path out to. So I hope that many of you here today will form a key part of our strategy over the next few years. Now, moving forward, I look forward to continuing to work with you and alongside you as we champion health and medical research and innovation in this state. The Future Health Research and Innovation Fund really does put the researcher first and hopefully empowers the talents that we are gathering in Western Australia to perform world-class research. I think providing a strong foundation for early and mid-career researchers from all walks of life is absolutely critical to unleashing the potential of Western Australia as an international powerhouse in research and innovation. So I hope you enjoy the day. Please get lots out of it. Please give us feedback on it. Unfortunately, I can't stay. A number of us are off to Brisbane very shortly to attend the Oz Biotech Conference, but I certainly look forward to hearing the outcomes at a later stage. Thanks for having me and enjoy the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister, and we always truly appreciate your enthusiasm and passion for health and medical research and innovation. Safe travels to you. Thanks. Earlier I mentioned my team at the WA Department of Health is overseeing a 10-year WA genomics strategy, and it has as its vision to ensure all West Australians benefit from the timely and appropriate translation of genomics, enabling precision medicine and precision public health. And the document outlines strategic priority areas and key outcomes to guide the efficient, effective, ethical and equitable translation of genomics into the health system. And one of the 5 priorities is research and innovation. We currently have a range of initiatives being conducted as part of the strategy's first implementation plan, and I'd like to just tell you briefly about some of them now. One of these is assisting with the expansion of Australian newborn blood spot screening programs to identify newborns with serious genetic conditions which have an intervention that can significantly improve their health outcomes if they are applied early. The WA newborn blood spot screening program has added 3 new conditions over the last year, which is a fantastic achievement. And one of these conditions is spinal muscular atrophy, which now has 3 different genetic therapies available. Our team is also part of some nationally funded programs investigating the application of genomics for newborn screening, and obviously there are a range of aspects that needed to be considered for this. Another program is implementing ultra-rapid whole genome sequencing to critically unwell neonates and children in WA's intensive care units. The positive health and economic benefits of this genomic approach, being able to provide actionable information within only 5 days from the testing, was proven through a national research study. And we're now working with Genetic Services of WA, who in turn working with the intensive care units, to make this standard of care for children who are eligible with the criteria. We're also part of a national pilot program called DNA Screen, which is screening 10,000 healthy adults between the ages of 18 and 40 years for a hereditary and breast... Have I just turned that on? For hereditary breast and ovarian cancer, Lynch syndrome and familial hypercholesterolemia, which is inherited high cholesterol. All of these 3 conditions have interventions to either prevent the direct disease or significantly improve the outcomes if they are applied early. Participants provide their saliva into a mailed out kit, which then gets sent back to the lab so that their extracted DNA can be screened for pathogenic variations in the genes known to cause this disease. And people who are screened positive then get referred into their healthcare systems so that they can be provided with the models of care for those conditions. Another example of precision health aligned to our genomic strategy is a Commonwealth-funded study being conducted at PathWest, our statewide public pathology provider. PathWest's anatomical pathology department is comprehensively profiling tumours at a genomic and a transcriptomic level for information. And these data are then interpreted by a molecular tumour board to provide personalised treatment information, including matching patients to clinical trials here in WA and across Australia and internationally. And lastly, we're also part of national Indigenous genomics initiatives and networks, such as ALIGN, which sees WA as the rare diseases node of the Alliance for Indigenous Genomics, led by Professor Alex Brown, who's located at the Telethon Kids Institute. So in summary, we have a range of precision health programs being conducted as part of our genomic strategies implementation, and we'll be very keen to learn from West Australian health and medical researchers and innovators about any other possible synergies that we might be able to collaborate on over the future. Now, I would like to introduce Professor Simon Laws, who's already been mentioned, to provide a keynote address on behalf of Edith Cowan University. Simon is Director of and Neurological Conditions Program Lead for the Centre for Precision Health here at ECU, Strategic Research Centre. The Centre for Precision Health, which is an ECU Strategic Research Centre. His research focuses on the pivotal role of genomics in human health, particularly neurological conditions, especially Alzheimer's disease. And his application of precision health aims to increase understanding of how genetic factors may contribute to variability in disease, risk, resilience, rates of clinical progression, response to disease-modifying therapies and interactions with environmental factors such as lifestyle. Simon, we very much look forward to hearing from you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Of course, I'd like to first start by also acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land in which us in the Centre of Precision Health undertake our research and pay our respects to their elders past and present. Well, you have to excuse me, but I may be slightly biased when I say that precision health could not be a better focus with the research that we undertake within the Centre of Precision Health here at ECU. And today I'd like to give you a brief overview of our interpretation of what precision health is and to provide a few snippets of some of the research that we undertake within the centre. But first, let's take a bit of a step back in time, a rather large step back in time. And the idea of the individual being the centre and the focus of improving the health and lifestyle of an individual is not new. If we go back to Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, he was quoted as saying, "It's far more important to know what person the disease has than the disease that the person has." And this has been the cornerstone of all modern medicine and the focus of patient-centred care approaches which are undertaken by clinicians to this very day. So what is it that precision health offers above this patient-centred care? Well, by no means are we saying that it replaces patient-centred care. It is, in fact, an augmentation to this to help fine-tune the healthcare interventions that we could presently put forward. And our belief is if we properly implement this, we have the opportunity to shift focus away from the treatment of illness to the protection of health. So this adapted figure that we took from the occasional paper that came out of the Chief Scientist Officer of Australia in 2018 and adapted to put into our precision health approach. So we can see in the top part of the figure here, the current clinical practice is an individual, a patient will present to their clinician. The clinician will have a very good understanding of the individual. They'll know their patient history, they'll know what their comorbidities are, and they'll have an understanding of what the disease is that they're treating them. And there may be a few options open to them for that treatment, and they'll progress to that treatment. It may result in an improved outcome, which is what we all hope, but also it may result in no current benefits to the individual, or at worst, adverse side effects. All in all, this will result in the individual potentially not getting the optimal health outcome in the optimal time and result in an increase in patient burden. What precision health offers is the ability to take large sets of data that's available to us now, whether this be public health data, environmental data, lifestyle data about the individual, as well as massive advances in our technologies around genomics and other biological data sets, bringing this all together with enhanced data analytics to perhaps be able to actually identify the specific treatment or the specific intervention needed for the individual. And this will hopefully result in the improved outcome in the most optimal time and therefore a decrease in patient burden and resultant decrease in adverse side effects. So this was what actually brought together groups of researchers here at ECU under the initiative of the Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Research, Professor Caroline Finch, with the Strategic Research Institutes and Centres initiative. This enabled us to form the Centre for Precision Health in 2021, and our research is aimed at improving patient outcomes through the use of biological data to inform and enhance personalised healthcare. We strive to do this through maximising the quality of life using that precision health approach, and this hopefully will result in improved diagnostics, prognostics and tailored intervention strategies. Overall, we hope to achieve, through our vision, an improvement in health outcomes through this application of personalised solutions that consider the individual's unique biology and the environment they interact with. So what is it that we focus on within the Centre for Precision Health? Well, our target areas and focus areas are aligned with the Australian health priorities and the leading contributors to Australia's burden of disease. And these include key focus areas of cancer, neurological conditions, and within the cancer stream a very strong focus on melanoma as a cancer. In the neurological conditions, we have a very strong focus on Alzheimer's disease, other dementias, but also other neurological conditions which is developing rapidly. And we also position suboptimal health as a key clinical, preclinical stage to many of these conditions, including chronic and metabolic conditions. Our precision health model attempts to look at the individual's biology, whether this be at the genomic level or perhaps even at the emerging field of glycomics. We also consider their environment, whether this be their lifestyle factors or other psychosocial factors. And importantly, we look at the interaction of these. So we apply each of these across our health conditions and hope to result in positive health outcomes, which may include prevention, early risk prediction, improved detection, altering the clinical progression of disease, optimising the possible therapeutic approaches, and overall an improved quality of life. So the Centre for Precision Health clearly and firmly believes that precision health holds the future and the key to future health and a promise of significant impacts. So obviously we're very exceedingly pleased to see in 2023 the announcement that precision health was one of the key focus areas of the medical health and research strategy for WA, and it coincided perfectly with our renewal application in 2023, so it couldn't have been more poignant. However, we believe that through precision health applications, the impacts can be wide-ranging, ranging from keeping people healthy by predicting and delaying their onset of chronic disease, helping people track their health and make better decisions using digital tools, provide effective personalised solutions through improved diagnostics and individualised prevention and treatment strategies, and the delivery of insights through predictive platforms that capture, integrate and analyse data to build personal health profiles. So here's a few snippets of types of research that we undertake across our major programs of research. First of all, I'd like to start with our cancer program, which is wonderfully led by Associate Professor Ellen Gray. And this particular research example is research being driven by Dr. Aaron Beasley and Dr. Leslie Beasley. And their work is helping the Centre for Precision Health develop a world-first blood test to diagnose uveal melanoma much earlier. Uveal melanoma is a highly metastatic form of cancer, and when it does metastasise, has a very low survival rate. Current means by which this diagnosis is highly invasive and can result in some significant side effects, including loss of sight. And obviously, the size of those tumours are quite small, so the repeatability of that procedure is very low as well. This blood test offers the opportunity to be much less invasive and obviously more repeatable through the ability to detect key genetic mutations which are seen in those individuals where these cancer metastasises. We'll have the opportunity to hear a little bit more from the cancer stream. We have a presentation coming up later by Dr. Pauline Zankner, so you hear a little bit more about some of the exciting research that's coming out of the cancer research program within the Centre for Precision Health. Moving on to the neurological conditions, this research here was being driven by Dr. Emmanuel Adewui, and what he did was take together massive data sets of genetic data, we're talking hundreds of thousands of individuals, and investigated the link between gut disorders and Alzheimer's disease. And what he was able to do down to the genetic level was show that there is a very strong link between the gut and the brain, reinforcing that gut-brain axis idea. And what it also does is help us identify shared mechanisms, understand even further new mechanisms that may be at play in the development of both diseases, as well as identify potential targets for therapeutic intervention. And this approach to research can also be applied across multiple, and is being applied across multiple Alzheimer's disease comorbidities. And we're already being able to identify further key mechanisms that may be at play and the potential for disease therapeutic interventions, as well as even the repurposing of existing therapeutics that target some of these genes that we're uncovering. A third area comes from the Suboptimal Health Research Program, which is led by Professor Wei Wang, and their team is looking at unravelling the sugar code. So this is trailblazing some new research at the cutting edge of glycomics as a new field of research, and the use of understanding the role of glycomics and its application for potential personalised medicine approaches. So this research is very important and applies across several chronic and metabolic diseases, including diabetes, and this understanding could help lay the path to some personalised medicine solutions. But the individual's biology is only one part of the individual. They're much more important components that we need to also understand as part of our interpretation of the precision health model. And that's understanding the barriers and the enablers for the individual that are living with the conditions and how they can access the healthcare provisions that they needed, and even the innovations that come out from precision health research. So I'm very proud of all the research that we undertake within the Centre for Precision Health, but I'm also exceedingly proud of some of our involvement of consumers and people with lived experience of the conditions that we study and their involvement in our research. And one particular one, this is across the entire centre, but the one I'd like to particularly focus on at the moment is research that's been led by Dr. Travis Cruikshank, who unfortunately can't be here today. He's seeing after his 2 kids at home. They're a bit unwell. But his research here and his drive here for this involvement of the community in the co-design program is very important. And this is our WA NeuroHub concept. This is done in collaboration with the company Anthology and also with the Perrin Institute. And what we're aiming to do here is bring together the information to one place for the individuals that are living with a neurological condition, health professionals, not-for-profit organisations, researchers and industry. And what we're hoping to achieve here is redefining the neurological conditions landscape and the ecosystem within WA. So what Travis has initiated across this year so far is several co-design workshops involving those with lived experiences. You can see some images here on the screen, as well as not-for-profit workshops. And we were so encouraged to see 15 CEOs of neurological condition, not-for-profit organisations and support groups participate in this. So this ground-up approach that Travis is applying here is fantastic, and it's bringing together the people that we really do need to drive this ability to bring the neurological research community together within WA. Now, I'd love to speak lots and lots more on this. I won't have the time to do so, and I wouldn't be able to do the justice that Travis would do. So it allows me to do a cheeky segue. If you want to know more, please consider joining us for our CPH showcase that's occurring at the start of December here at ECU. You can scan the QR code there, or you can obviously perhaps get the slides later. Likewise, if you can't wait until December to know more about what we do within the Centre for Precision Health here at ECU, you can jump on our website and learn more about each of the members of the centre, each of the research programs, and you can also jump on and see a short 7-minute video that was put together by the American Society of Human Genomics in 2022, where the Society chose the Centre for Precision Health as part of their World Thought Leaders program of series of videos, and this aired at the large genomics conference in LA in 2022. It gives a very short and a good overview of the type of research that we undertake within the centre across all our research programs. And with that, I will end the presentation, and if have time, we'll take any questions.
Thank you so much, Simon, for that very interesting and fascinating presentation. We do have time for a quick question or two, if we have any from the audience. We have a couple of roving microphones if we need them. I did wonder, Simon, whether you'd like to comment on the importance of ensuring that underrepresented populations or communities within our broader population participate in this type of research from that precision perspective.
Yes, it's exceedingly important. Some of the initiatives that we're driving within the centre, we've got some wonderful members of our scientific advisory group that are involved in that, in particularly around rare diseases and rare conditions, as well as underrepresented populations, including neurological conditions that individuals may not necessarily have heard about. Functional neurological conditions, for example, make up a considerable portion and that it may be necessarily underrepresented individually, but collectively there is a significant group of individuals that need to be looked at. So without doubt, inclusion and inclusivity and diversity of the research is exceedingly important.
Thank you. Well, I'm sure Simon will be very happy to talk with people and answer any questions later at the lunch. And as you've already given a fantastic plug, there's a lot more information that can be found online. Thank you again, much. Simon, most appreciated. I'd now like to welcome to the stage Mr. Nasir David, who is the Acting Director of the Office of Medical Research and Innovation at the WA Department of Health. And he will provide an overview of the FHRI Fund programs and initiatives open for application in the November cycle. As a little bit of background about Nasir, he continues to maintain a presence in his substantive role at the department as Director of Data and Information Systems and is Head of the WA Health Data Linkage Services and WA Health Rollout of REDCap and the Generative Artificial Intelligence, or AI, Synthetic Data team, which is really fascinating. Nasir is in his substantive roles, is responsible for the wide adoption and support of at-scale infrastructure applications that greatly assist research and health innovation across the sector. Please join with me to welcome Nasir.
Good morning, everyone, and look, thank you very much for that introduction. My hat is a data hat, but I'm here to talk about research. And if you want to talk about linkage, I can talk about linkage all day as well if you'd like to, but very good. Look, firstly, I just want to thank the ECU team and Simon for hosting us here today for the department. It's very kind of you to offer this fantastic venue for us to talk about precision health, which is a key area for us here, and also just to bring everyone together. It's always good, and I always sort of pinch myself. A year and a half ago, we couldn't do this. Remember those crazy days? So it's actually really good to actually get out and meet people. I can see a lot of familiar faces in the crowd, and I've had a bit of a discussion. Oh, thank you. Great. Also, I'll move that across. And it's just really good to have discussions with people about how important the FHRI Fund and the department can be a big lever for research and really help, as the ministers previously mentioned. So today I just really want to talk about a couple of things. I want to give an update on our current programs, but also want to give an update on what we're actually doing at the department, because there's a number of other projects as well which are really good. We have, as the Minister mentioned, funding cycles and funding rounds that we have, and in this particular round, any of the programs and initiatives that we do are always aligned to the FHRI Fund goals, which are very clear. We've got three key areas here, which is our people. Our people, platforms, and our partners, Now, these are really key areas that we develop our funding or align our funding programs to, because these really will help drive, as part of our FHRI Fund strategy going forward, really help drive some of the great work that we're doing has been centred, particularly around today in precision health. We've been through a really interesting process within the team, and I've recently joined, and my substantive role is still in the data piece, but as the Minister mentioned, $90 million has gone out from the FHRI Fund over the last sort of 2 years. But what we're actually doing is actually really getting a lot better in targeting our programs and initiatives and actually going out and consulting with the sector to actually develop programs that really make a difference. And we've got Moira here, which is one of our AC members. She's actually got the really cool task of actually saying all the cool things that and all the great recipients that have happened with our funding. But it's actually really good to see that the funding that we're actually doing and the programs we're going to be talking about today, they're actually programs that we've previously had, but they've been so subscribed and so well subscribed that we're going to continue doing these. But in 2024, we're currently also in this particular period in a real area of consultation with the sector, and that's why I've probably seen a lot of familiar faces here that I have been around to actually discuss, and our team has, because 2024 is really going to be an amazing year for programs and initiatives. You know, with the blessing of the FHRI AC Council and also for the Minister, the programs that we're looking to develop in, you know, for 2024 are absolutely fantastic. So, and also just in front of what we're actually doing with regards to health, just in terms of, you know, not only just in the funding space, there's a number of areas that we're looking at that we're looking to support. Data linkage has gone through a major piece at the moment. We've launched the People WA data asset just recently with the Department of Premier and Cabinet, which is a massive data set for research that's taking government data, health data, linking it all together and making it available for research. And this is a really fantastic asset that's available for the state. Other areas that we're looking to develop in 2024 is a statewide biobank, and the department's going to really take a lead with all our stakeholders to actually drive a biobank, a statewide biobank. And this is exactly something that precision medicine and everyone needs, is to have actually a standardised sample place, a repository, a data access bit, hopefully linkage as well of that data asset too. So that's just a really interesting area. And one also thing that just to mention really quickly with the data side, we've just launched. We had a hackathon this year, and the department generated synthetic data for the first time. So we actually used synthetic data, which is based off. I think we used our emergency data data sets. We generated synthetic data and actually used it in a live environment for a hackathon. So this is a small thing. It doesn't seem very, you know, big, but the use of synthetic data is really going to open things up really for the states. If we're probably one of the first ones in the country to actually generate a data set and actually use it in the wild. And the reason why that's so great is we can now start thinking about how do we generate representative data, which is not the real data, but also to streamline a lot of processes with ethics and governance to actually give, you know, pre-data out to, say, you know, pharma or research or wherever it is, to actually help you along in your processes. So what normally happens is you've got an idea, you want to go through ethics, you've got to go through, you know, pre-authorization and, you know, pre-review of you know, to get data as part of the thing, and you might actually come out with, you know, after all that investigation and all that effort, you might actually come out with nothing and get to your hypothesis. What synthetic data can do is we can actually give you some initial data first to actually have a look at, help you streamline some of that process and start developing things like AI and whatnot. So it's a very exciting development that we've had here in the department. So I'm really pleased to share this information with you about what we're going to be doing in 2024. So I'll get on to the good stuff now, which is our programs. So today I'm really talk about, I guess, 5 programs that we've announced previously, but they've been so successful we want to keep running them again. The first one being our co-funding partnerships program. So previous Open Day we announced a partnership with Brightspark, which is fantastic, but the program itself allows partners to get together with their money, with FHRI money, to actually develop a program or resource which is actually good, which supports our FHRI goals. We've got the MRAS program, the Major Research Application Support, which really supports researchers. If you're going for a grant, we can actually provide you with that support from government to say, yes, if you get that grant, we're right behind you as well to help you fund that. The Innovation Seed Fund on the innovation side, that's a great program that we're running, but we're looking to expand that, and I'll get onto that a bit while get onto that into the slide, because we currently had a small focus area, but we've listened to, you know, what the sector has told us, and we actually need to, you know, look at other areas, which I'll get into. And the last two, which is our near miss awards, and these are really great. I mean, I've personally had researchers come up to me at various events and just say, look, Nasir, this is fantastic. You know, having this near miss and having an opportunity to either be funded through a fellowship or to either have some continual funding to keep us going to the next round that we actually got to go through is absolutely fantastic. So this is one of our real successes in the program that we want to continue. So just very quickly, the co-funding partnerships program just allows partners, as I mentioned, to actually bring, you know, some dollars along, and we actually match dollars along to actually, you know, support a particular goal and objective. And we actually did this with the Brightspark program to, you know, drive some training and initiatives across their space. But what's exciting about this round, because we've further refined that role, we've gone back to the council and, you know, actually had more discussions when these programs come out. We've enabled research foundations to actually access this fund. So you've got research foundations that sit within the HSPs and the hospitals. So you've got the Royal Perth Foundation, for example, you've got the Spinnaker Foundation, etc. These foundations can actually use their philanthropic funding or their raise funding. We can actually match that with FHRI funding to actually really help and magnify those processes and really actually boost, you know, their funding around. And the great thing about foundations, they're actually a lot closer to the ground than we are. They talk to researchers all the time. We were just recently at the Royal Perth 40th Foundation on Friday. It's absolutely amazing to see some of the fantastic, even those small grants, they offer 50,000, 100,000 or whatever it is, the smaller grants just to keep researchers involved and keep them starting, which is really fantastic. So that's something that we've really looked to tweak this program and make sure that we're hitting all our marks with it. So as I was mentioning, key, I guess, eligibility criteria is this, that the funding partner really has to bring funding first before they actually approach us. Now, what we normally do is we do an EOI process that if you're not sure how it works, please contact our team and we'll actually do a little bit of a pre-assessment for you, because I previously mentioned it can have up to $1 million, but if there are programs that are suitable, that you think there is more funding available, we will actually take that up. But we do need, I guess, this expression of interest process to just first look at what you want to do, how you're actually going to fund it, and how you're going to put it together. It's a really vital piece. But you can see just on the slide the opportunities. So there's health and medical research, fellowships, any infrastructure that we want to do. So if you're looking to buy a particular kit, or your foundation or your group wants to buy some particular piece of kit, we can actually help do that for you. So this is one of our sleeper little programs. We announced it in the middle of the year. It was, there was, I guess, a lot of questions and a lot of queries, and that's all part of our process to engage the sector and ourselves as our customers to actually help refine these programs and actually make them a lot better. So the Major Research Application Support Program, or MRAS, as I mentioned, this is a great program. So we have this program so we can actually provide extra financial support for your grant funding that you're going forward to, either MRFF or NHMRC. So effectively, when you apply for this funding, you're basically getting a commitment from us to say, yep, if you get that funding, we will actually match you. So it's actually a really big bonus, a really big kick to help you, get your research along. Again, this has been a really well-subscribed program. We have a lot of interest. But what's really interesting is we've got an application piece with this current round, which is finishing quite close in December, because we just want to make sure that we can get our funding out for this particular year and align with all the grants. But one thing to note is, if you've got some queries, if you're not sure, please reach out to our team on how it's actually going to work. We've got a great team that will answer a lot of questions around this, because we did have a lot of questions on how this works between, do I get the funding first? Do I get this? Do I apply, etc.? Please actually reach out to our team and understand actually can clarify, because we really want to try and get support. So if you get the funds, we want to help you match as much as we can. So the Innovation Seed Fund, this is a really popular, extremely popular program that we ran last year. But what we actually did run last year, there's an innovation maturity level, which is basically looking at innovations right up to innovation level 1, which is the pre-concept of just thinking about it, right up to IML 9, which is the commercialisation stage. And we initially supported the early stages to try and encourage innovators to move along. But what we've actually realised, again, with consulting with the sector, is that we really need to sort of encourage that early stage work. So IML 3 is a great example of establishing your proof of concept, and we can actually help fund up to $100,000 to establish a proof of concept. So just think about that. You've got your research or researchers here. Think about, maybe this is something that can be commercialised. Maybe this is a product. Maybe this is something that, you might want to, out there to, you do your research for the good of, the good of humanity and people, but you want to get it out there, and commercialisation is a good part to actually get that through. So we want to offer these funds up to $100,000 for IML3, which is proof of concept, to help you get through. But also we want to support the mid and late tier areas. Now there's a phrase that gets used, which is the valley of death in funding, where you get to a certain point, you developed your concept, you get a prototype out, everyone's great, but how do you get to the next step is where it's really interesting. So IML 7 to 9 are 9 is the final stage of commercialisation. So IML 7 is actually looking at solidifying that particular product, doing your market scanning, understanding how that particular invention or whatever innovation you've got is actually trying to actually do those particular bits first, so you want to get funding out. So what actually happens is, we've had a lot of people come to us and go, we're at this bit and we just need to get to the next bit, and we need some more money to, test some feasibility and see how this thing works. So IML 7 is up to $750,000, which is a huge amount of money to help you get through that bit. because once you do that and you establish that, then you're more attractive to raising other funding and help you through that commercialisation piece. And that needs to be expended within 24 months. So you've got a good amount of time as part of your planning to really think about how that's going to work. I'm really excited about this. I mean, I'm not going to steal Moira's thunder, but there's a lot of great programs that have come out, and we've had some media coverage recently of an innovation seed fund that really did some great work. So we're really, really pleased that this program's actually going to do some more support for the sector. And just lastly, the two near miss awards, the WAMNA awards. So the Emerging Leaders program, we're redoing this one again, and I think what we're probably going to be doing as part of our ongoing engagement is probably having this as an open application round where you can apply throughout the year. So my team's probably going to kick me at the moment for saying that, but we need to look at different ways to support and keep programs like this available, because this is such an important program, particularly on us achieving and obtaining that NHMRC and MRFF funding and the national speech and other funding areas as well. But the really lovely thing about this program is that, so if you miss out but are suitable were suitable but not funded, the top two emerging leaders, we can actually provide fellowships for up to 3 years. Along with the aligned with the NMHRC guidelines there. So this is really fantastic. And if you do miss out of that top two, we're still offering $100,000 to keep your project moving. And as I mentioned before, this is a great program to help researchers along. The research process is arduous. The funding, as you all know, the grants and the applications are so time consuming. And to get that, you were great. And we really would like to fund you, but we haven't got any money. It's just such a letdown. So this is where FHRI can really help keep you going in your careers and keep your teams moving as well. And the addition of I guess the ability to have fellowships also funded out through the FHRI program by this piece is really amazing. And just lastly, the Ideas Grant. So this is again an MHRC program. So we're actually funding up to $100,000 per year. And again, I've missed this point, particularly on the previous point. With your NMHRC grading, you need a grading of 4.5 when you actually get your applications back. So effectively, you were successful but not fundable. So if you do have that piece, you can come to us for funding for that particular 100,000 bit. Again, this is a really great program. We've opened it right till the 4th of April. Just in line with other funding rounds that happen across the country. So if you are not successful, we've still got funds available that can help you and assist that particular piece. So before I get into sort of any questions, etc., I just want to re-emphasise the fact that 2024 and the work that we're doing as part of our serious engagement with the sector is really going to be an exciting year for us. So the March rounds that are going to come out we're really going to announce some great work and some really good programs and initiatives, again with the blessing of the Minister and the FHRI Advisory Council. We're really excited. We've done a lot of work in that engagement in this particular piece to talk to the sector. Hence, that's why you're probably not seeing new initiatives in this particular bit. But like I said, the next piece we'll really see some new initiatives that'll be coming through. And these initiatives are actually going to directly tie back to some of the broader pieces of work that's happening, within the department. So I just want to again thank you for all your time. It's an exciting part once again to be here and actually to talk to you all. And I'm looking for many faces. But again, if you have any queries about our programs or not sure how they work before you apply, please reach out to our team as early as you can as part of that application process, so we can sort out or address any concerns that you have as early as possible before our funding can't run out. So thank you very much. Great, thank you.
Thanks so much, Nasir, for explaining that. Any quick questions for Nasir? I think it's fantastic that he's making his team so available, as they always have been. Oh, quick one at the back there. Have we got the mic? Yep, that's great.
Well, that's a really good question, and I love the data question as well. So People WA was probably the first set that we're looking at, because that's a really interesting set, particularly in the mental health space, because it involves not just health and mental health data from the health sector, but it also involves data from communities, justice, police, and it's longitudinal. So at the moment we're going back to 1990, but we're looking to expand that back even further. So having a longitudinal data set that's available, already linked, particularly with those pieces, is probably the first bit that we're there for access. But I like your second question, I mean, because that's something that we're trying to work for as well, is building a research, building that culture of research and innovation within, not just in mental health, but throughout, without health focus, but across the whole sector. Some of the things we're actually working through as well is there's a major piece that my team is working on is ethics reform and also governance reform. And I think everyone agrees that, both of those things, particularly in governance, will really help support clinical trials, support some of the angst that goes through. I have allied health researchers who want to come to us, and they're not traditional researchers. They don't go normal to a traditional research stream. So we're looking to develop, and this is probably alluding to some of the work, some of the pieces I was saying in 2024, but having novice research streams to come through to actually bring people into research. They might, it's a good thing and a bad thing. Some people like research, some people won't. So some of these things where we can involve juniors or people that normally wouldn't go into research, do a 12-week little stint, run a little project, get the taste of it. I started in my background. I started as a research volunteer in anaesthetics at Fiona Stanley, and that's where I got the bug. My bug was the data piece. So, getting those people involved in that will actually help the culture. And putting the data together with them and making it easy to access is probably other barriers around the governance. So, thank you.
Thank you again, Nasir.
No,
We might move on in interest of time. I know Nasir will also be leaving today's event early. He's off to Oz Biotech, but as you said, he and his team are always available to answer any questions and have a good chat about any of the research and innovation ideas that you have. Thank you again, Nasir. Thank you. So as we know, consumer and community involvement, CCI, is critical to successful research and innovation, and all the FHRI fund applications are assessed and scored on the demonstrated level of consumer and community involvement. I'd now like to introduce you to our next speaker, Miss Kerry Mace, and she will give you some tips and insights on CCI and how it is scored by the panel members. Kerry has been a consumer advocate for over 20 years, particularly in the musculoskeletal area, working with various organisations including Arthritis and Osteoporosis WA, Arthritis Australia, and as chair of the Consumer Advisory Group at Fiona Stanley Fremantle Hospital Group. Kerry joined the WA Health Translation Network's Consumer and Community Involvement Program team in 2019, and as a Consumer and Community Involvement Coordinator, she works closely with researchers at the University of WA to support and guide the involvement of people with lived experience in their projects. Please help me welcome Kerry to the microphone.
So I'd also like to acknowledge the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation and recognise their elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to recognise the lived experience and the importance and expertise of lived experience voice of health consumers and carers, recognise their involvement in making a difference in supporting health research, impacting the health and wellbeing of our communities. So who am I? I'm Kerry Mace, and I'm, as was said, I was from WA Health Translation Network and a CCI coordinator for UWA. My background is 50 years in musculoskeletal. I've had a lived experience and got involved with support groups and has taken me through many different phases of life, and now I'm here as a CCI coordinator, supporting people working with researchers. WA Health Translation Network is an NH and MRC registered translation network. We are one of 11 across Australia and work over different platforms within WA Health Translation Network. So, who is a consumer? There's lots of different words for consumers. This is what research and clinicians have said that consumers are. But what I want you to make sure is that you actually have the right term for your project. Consumers come in very different, they like to be called different things within your project. So please make sure that you check in with them and how they would like to be seen across the, how you're talking about them across your project. What is involvement? So it is research carried out with or by consumers. It's rather than about or for them. It's actively working with researchers and organisations to shape decisions about health research priority, and it occurs at all phases of the research. So involving consumers right from the beginning to the end. And what isn't involvement? It's not participation. So it's not being part of an experiment or observational studies or surveys or focus groups. And it's not taking blood or tissue samples. That is participation. Or consultation. It's that is being part of a research forum. Today is consultation. It's or a presentation or information sessions. It's you need to actively engage your consumers with your researchers. It was lovely to hear of Simon and the work that they're doing here at ECU about working with the consumers here with their different groups. It was wonderful to see that and have it being spoken about. So why do you bother? We've heard that quite a few times from researchers. Why do I have to bother? It's no longer a nice thing to do for your research. It's a point of difference. And it's the quality and relevance of having consumers involved with your project. And it increases your potential success to receive that grant. So times have changed. Everyone knows that all of the guidelines have changed with your grant applications. CCI should be seen from beginning to end. It's no longer a tick-the-box service. You've got to have your consumer involved. Don't get, if a grant reviewer gets to the first page and you don't get that right, quite often it's downhill from there. And if you put in there, if you fund us, we'll involve consumers. It's a dead giveaway that you have not had consumers involved with your project at all. So, making CCI visible with writing your CCI story. That's what we mean by a story. So that's writing your story and having that consumer involved right through the whole process. It's a story of how they've been involved right from the beginning, from that ideation, how that idea came about. How did you get that idea? Write it in there. It may have come from that consumer who said, what about this? Write it in how that came. Setting the research focus. Where are you going to go? How's that going to go? They can help you focus on the areas that you need. Planning the research project. They're very good at helping with the planning. They live with that condition 24/7. That's their life. They've been there, and quite often for many years. And then translating and the results and the outcomes. They are very good now at helping you see how are you going to get it out there to the consumers. Being part of a presentation at a conference, they can be part of that, co-presenting with you at your conference. So where should you see CCI in your project plan and grant application? We say everywhere. So it's from your plain language summary to your significance or your rationale of the project, to the impact or novelty or methodology. Your consumer involvement, it's not just in that one section, it's right through the whole project. Your research plan, your feasibility. How is it actually going to work with consumers? If you haven't had a consumer tell you how it's going to work with them, you might think it's the right way, and then you get a consumer to talk to you at the end of the project, and could have given you some information and taken you in a whole easier track. So, and potential outcomes and research translations, they can help in every way. Budget. Make sure your consumer involvement is in your budget. If it's not in your budget, you're not going to get that grant. It needs to be included in your budget. It is a line. Have it included. I've heard researchers say, I can't afford it. Yes, you can. Put it in the budget. If it's in the budget, it will be funded. And that's where we can help you with that. And research team members, have your consumer as a CI, an AI, or as a team member. Put them in there, name them. So how consumers be involved with research? There's lots and lots of different ways that we can be involved. These are only a few of them. Priority mapping workshops, community conversations, community advisory or reference groups, community researcher or research buddy, even strategic committees on strategic planning, reviewers and steering groups, advisory councils, right at that high level in your organisation, consumers should be there and should be seen. And we actually can assist you in finding what's the best consumer for your project and how you use a consumer. Forward planning. You need to plan. If there's nothing else, plan. Research priority mapping workshops, they take time because we do a lot of pre-work before we actually get the consumers together. Community conversations, 6 to 8 weeks, and research buddies. Takes us time to actually find the right person for you. We actually interview everyone and make sure that they are a fit for your project so that they're going to work really, really well with your project and your team, because it is a team project. And feedback and direction for a CCI and a grant. We are very busy, and at the end of close of grants, we are really, really busy, so we please ask 2 to 3 weeks beforehand, give us time that you're going to be, contact us and say, we've got this grant going in, we have some time, and we'll be able to say to you, yep, give us some time. We can have a review of it and just give you some feedback on it. And including consumers in your research team as chief investigators and associate investigators. That can take quite some time to get that relationship, to build that relationship to be part of your team. Gold Star. This is a Gold Star grant application, can include strong, plain language summaries. It sets the scene that you've actually had that consumer involved from the beginning. Consumer is in a research investigating team, so they're part of the team. The story. And what we mean by story is that telling your story of your consumer and how they've been part of the team all the way through. It's just not saying we've got a consumer. I did a grant review one day and they said they had a consumer advisory group. That was it. The whole grant. They never mentioned them again. They didn't tell me how they were going to be, how they were involved with the whole grant. So please put it in there. The CCI is in all relevant sections of the grant application, and of course, again, in the budget. Must be in the budget. So if you take nothing else from today, then all I can say is plan ahead. It takes a lot of planning because your consumers are busy people as well. Consumers who work with researchers and get really involved, they're busy people. They don't just do one research project. They work in a lot of different research projects. So please plan ahead. And getting support from WHTN and the CCI program, we can help you in very many ways. We have coordinators. We have a coordinator here at ECU, that is Gillian, who you can contact through us. We have our Masterclass series. We've already got them up on our website for next year, so please book in. They do fill up. The free online CCI health research e-course, and there's a new one coming soon on successful grant writing. The CCI handbook, our program website, and becoming a member to actually receive our emails to find out when we have workshops and what projects are out there. You, our consumers as well, you might be like to be involved with a research project. And then our contact details. Please contact us. No project is the same. Every project is different, and we offer an individualised service so that we can help you to plan what consumer and how you use that consumer within your project. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kerry, for sharing your breadth of knowledge on this really important topic. In the interest of time, we will move on, but I'm sure Kerry will be happy to answer any questions later on. Next, I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Moira McKinnon, and she is a FHRI Fund Advisory Council member with vast experience in primary care and rural, regional and remote health. Moira will provide an overview of the FHRI Fund Advisory Council and her role, and also highlight some of the recently awarded FHRI Fund recipients. Please help me welcome Moira to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today to hear about the fascinating research being done by the Precision Health Research. And I'm pleased to be here to have the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Future Health Research and Innovation Fund, FHRI. And also it's great to be here at a university named after the first female parliamentarian. I would like to pay respect to the traditional custodians of the land and their continuing connection to land, water and country. I feel that we've still got a long way to learn from their culture and a lot has been missed up till now, but I think we're beginning to listen and that's a good first step. It's a privilege to be working with the Honorary Stephen Dawson, MLC, Minister for Emergency Services, and all the long roles that he's got. It's a big job. And I would really like to emphasise the hard work of the OMRI, the Office of Medical Research and Innovation. They really have got layers and layers of work to do. I'm going to talk a little bit about the fund and a little bit about the members, and then get on to, if it's already up, yes, the recent announcements and grants. So it goes back to 2012 when there was the initial FHRI Fund Act, and FHRI finally got into place in 2020. But the main objectives are, and we keep going back to that in our discussions, it's not about single research, it's about improving the health and well-being of all Australians, or Western Australians, sorry, who will be secessionists, and improve the efficiency of the WA health system, increase the economic prosperity of Western Australia and advance Western Australia's standing as the centre of excellence in health and medical research, innovation and commercialisation. So that may seem like a lot of overarching statements, but in there is community, Western Australia and investment, and so bringing forward, making research roll on itself and grow. The Advisory Council members are experts in fields such as research, innovation, business, law, finance, corporate governance, philanthropic, charitable and not-for-profit sectors. And here today we have Kane Blackman, who's the consumer representative, and we have Dale Fisher, who's the CEO of a huge organisation, important organisation, Silver Chain. And I said to her that I'm counting on Silver Chain to come out to my farm when I get much older. There must be at least one expert in rural, regional and remote health, and one expert in Aboriginal health, and one expert in consumer and community health matters. Our role as an advisory council is to develop through consultation with the sector and recommend to the Minister the strategy, focus, stream areas and priorities that Nazir has already presented. But in a nutshell, our purpose is to support you as researchers, innovators and researchers to do creative research and innovation with tangible outcomes and benefits for the WA community, and also to recognise you as heroes and be recognised as such. I've had the pleasure of taking, sorry this is on and off, I have the pleasure of, because I'm short, I know, I have the pleasure of recently taking on the role as a member with expertise in rural, regional and remote health. I'm both a public health physician and a general practitioner. I have been a researcher. I have worked at regional and international levels in public health, but most of my clinical work, and I've always come back to Western Australia in the places in Kimberley, Derby, Fitzroy Crossing and out the back of Pilbara and Jigalong. My role is to ensure that consideration is being given to those remote and rural factors. And it's interesting when you talk about the blood tests for the uveal melanoma. I thought, that's fantastic. But my immediate thought is, how do we keep it? Will it last for a week till we get to the next plane? So some of the detail in the rural and remote stuff has to be thought about. That's what I want to do, make aware of those considerations. So living in rural, regional and remote areas means access to health services can be challenging, and we need solutions for service delivery, healthcare provision and treatment. Early detection, early intervention, all those things are incredibly important. Point of care testing, home delivery, peritoneal dialysis in the home has been a big game changer. And of course, meaningful consumer and community involvement are key to quality, and Kerry has gone through all that. The successful grant applications and indeed must involve consumers from the development of the research question to implementation, and I think Kerry's gone through that at length. And we do have at FHRI, there is a community coordination person, Ingrid Lang, who is there to help go through applications in that regard. And she also works with Kerry. Collaboration is also important, brings together ideal skills, expertise and knowledge with increased investment. We all know that translating research into healthcare policy and practice is not easy. So it's bringing the relevant stakeholders together to make sure that the outcome is fits into those 4 key points and is of benefit to West Australians and to the health system. The ultimate aim and purpose of the FHRI Fund is to support real world improvements in health and wellbeing for the people of WA. Okay, now's the bit that's already up in the screen, I think. Since the last FHRI Fund Open Day in July that was held in Geraldton, a number of fund research and innovation programs have been awarded to the extent, as the Minister said, to another 10.5 million. So in the innovation space, sure that's up there, in the innovation space, 6.5 million has been awarded, 4.3 million to 9 West Australian innovators and early stage startup companies to develop and commercialise cutting-edge health and medical innovations through the Innovation Seed Fund 22 to 23. 1.3 million has been awarded to West Australian innovators through the Innovation Fellowships 22-23 program, and 0.9 has been awarded to 19 West Australian innovators to promote creative solutions through the application of generative artificial intelligence technology to address significant health and medical challenges. Some of those grant recipients will have the opportunity to apply for Stage 2 funding, with one winner in each of the streams being awarded up to $500,000 to fully develop their solution and implement it in WA. In the research arena, the FHRI Fund has awarded $4 million for health and medical research projects, fellowships and infrastructure. $1 million has been awarded to 4 early career child health researchers to undertake a fellowship through the FHRI Fund and Bright Spark co-funded WA Early Career Child Health Research Fellowship Program. This is the first round of a 3-year commitment to the program by both parties. $2 million has been awarded to the WA cohort studies, operational support program to support the continued operation of valuable WA cohort studies such as the RAIN study, now in its 3rd generation. So incredible data coming through the RAIN study and the Origins study. $1 million has been awarded through the Major Research Application Support Program to Ausgene who has won a national collaborative research infrastructure grant to support ongoing operations of the Animal Resources Centre in WA. So all important stuff, and much more to come, and much more work for the Council and Omri. In addition, I forgot this, in addition to the FHRI Fund, the state government, in partnership with Channel 7 Telethon Trust, has awarded $6.5 million through the WA Child Research Fund to 11 projects that are researching ways to improve health and wellbeing for WA children and adolescents. So the recipients are on the slide behind me, so I think they deserve a good clap for all their hard work. Yep. And there's much more to come, and I think we're on the way, thanks to the FHRI Fund, to really developing WA as a premier and targeted research centre. So all the best to all of you in your research.
Thank you very much, Moira. And congratulations to all the recipients of the funding awards. And I think we should give a round of applause to our FHRI Fund Advisory Council members who are here because they do an extraordinary job. So please show our gratitude to our members. Thank you. Now, next up, we have two Edith Cowan University researchers who are also recipients of the FHRI Fund Near Miss award programs that we heard from Nasir about earlier. And as we know, this program provides support for WA researchers who have narrowly missed out on the highly sought after NHMRC Investigator Ideas grants in the most recently announced round. First up, we're going to hear from Dr. Mark Sim, who is a Senior Research Fellow in the Nutrition and Health Innovation Research Institute here at ECU, and where he leads the Falls Free Future program. Mark's research program examines the role, I'll just go on to that, one more, of nutrition and physical activity and their impact on disease progression, more specifically musculoskeletal function and structure. His research is targeted at reducing falls and associated injuries such as fractures in older populations. Mark, we look forward to hearing about your research. Welcome.
This quote pretty much sums up why I do the research that I do. One in 3 Australians every year will suffer a fall over the age of 65. Every 5 minutes that an Australian is hospitalised due to a fall, and fractures led to approximately 1.2 million days of hospitalised care each year. This cost the Australian economy about $3.9 billion, and musculoskeletal disease ranks among the top 3 disease burdens in Australia. Now, with the fall and the fracture, that can also lead to trauma and this fear of falling, impaired mobility, that loss of independence, depression and isolation. So this all builds up and can lead to a whole range of other cardiometabolic diseases such as osteoporosis, sarcopenia and cardiovascular disease as well. Now, while there are no pharmaceutical interventions to preserve muscle function and prevent falls, what we do know is exercise and nutrition are very, very effective. Exercise particularly is shown to reduce the rate of falls and fractures, but really exercise is only one piece of the puzzle, and there's a whole range of other things such as nutrition that we need to consider. Now, protein, vitamin D and calcium are well established in the musculoskeletal field for its importance for bone and muscle, but there's so much about diet that we don't really know. And for example, national nutrition guidelines for falls prevention actually don't exist. So this kind of led me to what don't we eat enough of? And one of the things that obviously we don't eat enough of is vegetables. And the role of vegetables for heart health is actually really well established. Specific vegetables such as your allium and your cruciferous vegetables, like you can see up there, especially beneficial for your heart. But I really wanted to know if there's specific vegetables that are more important for your muscles and your bones. And some of the things that really caught my attention was nitrate and vitamin K, which I'm going to speak about today. So now, one of our first studies, we actually tracked about just under 4,000 Australians over a 12-year period, and we assessed their dietary intake at 3 time points over this 12-year period. And what we found was that compared to individuals with the lowest nitrate intake, which is from your green leafy vegetables, those with your highest nitrate intake had about 11% stronger knee extension strength and had about 4% faster timed up and go performance. These individuals also had lower odds for weak knee extension strength and slow timed up and go. And this is really, really important because weakness and slowness are major risk factors for falls and fractures. And I guess some of the analysis, when we looked a little bit further, it wasn't affected by sex or physical activity levels as well. So green leafy vegetables, 1 serves a day, get more than enough of nitrate from them. But another thing that's kind of in vegetables that really caught our attention was vitamin K. And the fraction or the ratio of undercarboxylated osteocalcin is actually a biomarker of vitamin K status. So some of this work done by Cassandra Smith was absolutely vital in highlighting the importance of vitamin K. When we looked at this biomarker, what we found was that women in a cohort of about 1,300 older women, those with poorer vitamin K status had slower movement, they had a greater decline in movement over a 5-year period, and they had increased fear of falling and walking aid use. And more importantly, a poorer vitamin K status was associated with up to 40% increased risk for fall-related hospitalization over 14 years. Now, that's all well and good for vitamin K, but we ran into a problem, and this is where the FHRI Fund really helped us. There wasn't a database in Australia to measure vitamin K or to assess vitamin K in food. So we used some of these funding to hire applications chemists, and she was an amazing applications chemist who developed this vitamin K database. We went out to all the supermarkets in Australia, measured the vitamin K content of these foods, and we created Australia's first vitamin K database. And we measured vitamin K1 and K2. Once we had done that, we were actually able to apply these data to our food frequency questionnaires in our cohort studies. And in the cohort of about 1,300 community-dwelling older West Australian women, what we found was that vitamin K1 intakes above 80 micrograms per day actually were beneficial for timed up and go performance or physical function, as you can see on that slide in the top figure. And when we looked at comparing women with the highest intakes to the lowest intakes, those with the highest intakes had about 27% lower risk for a fall-related hospitalization. And these numbers are quite important because the current NHMRC guidelines for vitamin K estimate that 60 micrograms per day is really important, and we're showing that really you need a much higher level in order to benefit musculoskeletal health. When we looked at fractures in this same cohort of older women, what we found was that compared to those women with the lowest vitamin K intake, those with the highest, again, had lower risk for any fracture, and lower risk for hip fracture, which are the really, really devastating kinds of fractures. And this work was really important because the International Osteoporotic Foundation actually highlighted that there was not enough evidence for vitamin K and more work needed to be done. So we did this work and actually were awarded an IOF award for our vitamin K research. Now, I think it's all really nice and well to show the benefits in these epidemiological studies, but it's really important the next step, which has been a real joy to do as part of the FHRI Fund funding as well, which is the translation of this research to community. So what we've done is we created this cookbook of all the recipes that we think are, of all the foods that are most beneficial for heart, muscle, and bone health, and we created 16 recipes. We invited community to come down to ECU, and we ran a whole day cooking workshop. We taught these older people how to cook these foods that we had created, and we actually went through a lecture with them and telling them why we've put specific foods into those recipes, with the hope that they would pass these recipes on to their peers. And this is a great example of the industry engagement that we've done here at ECU as well. Moving on to some of the work that we're undertaking in this space, I'm working together with Dr. Li Zhaosheng and Montana Dupe, and we're kind of taking all these foods, creating these vegetable powders, because one of the main things consumers have told us is the barriers, the limitations to getting access to fresh produce. So we've tried to create these powders to pack these to create some nutrient-dense foods, which we can provide to consumers. And as you can see, we can add these powders to a whole range of food pastes, create 3D food printing stuff, and this will allow people with swallowing difficulties to get a whole bunch of nutrients as well. And so one of the questions that we really get a lot of is, we know that diet's important, we know that exercise is important, what are you going to do about it? So we've been really fortunate. We've received some funding from the NHMRC, where we've actually created this study called the Wise and Well study. Now, the Wise and Well study is a study where it's based on using knowledge of disease to try and improve behavior. So we get people in, we do a bone scan similar to what you get as part of osteoporosis screening, and we quantify the amount of vascular calcification in the abdominal aorta, as you can see on the slide there. We do this because this particular calcification of this artery is linked to fractures, falls, poorer cognitive health, dementia, and poorer muscle strength as well. Then once we get this scan, we provide this information to participants, and we provide the resources around good nutrition and exercise. And it's the hope that by providing this awareness of disease, they're actually able to change their diet and to change their lifestyle to try and improve musculoskeletal and cognitive health. And to kind of showcase the breadth of work that we do in the Institute, some of this work we've been really fortunate to work with amazing scientists from computer science, where we've actually kind of used machine learning to automatically to quantify the amount of vascular calcification in these arteries using machine learning. And we've shown that these machine learning scores from the abdominal aorta actually was linked to falls and fractures as well. And this all really feeds into a recent successful grant led by Associate Professor Joshua Lewis, where we're trying to understand the genetic and the lifestyle factors of vascular calcification and how that affects blood vessel health and musculoskeletal health as well. Finally, I'd just like to thank the FHRI Fund. A lot of this work has been supported by FHRI over the last 3 to 4 years and would not have been possible, so thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Mark. That 3D printing is fascinating. Yeah, it's incredible. It almost reminds me of some of the Star Trek episodes where you could see them dial up the meal that they wanted and it would appear. Are there any questions for Mark? No. Well, it's fascinating work, Mark, and it's amazing to see that the Near Miss is going towards such a wonderful program, and we wish you much continued good fortune with your research. I'm sure people will talk to you over the lunch break with further questions. Thank you so much, Mark. And now we have our second ECU Near Miss recipient, which is Dr. Pauline Zeinker. And she is a Teaching and Research Early Career Vice-Chancellor's Research Fellow in the School of Medical and Health Sciences and Deputy Cancer Biology Stream Lead in the Centre for Precision Health here at ECU. Pauline specialises in the clinical application of next-generation proteomics and is passionate about the development of tests that can serve as additional tools to improve cancer diagnosis, prognosis and surveillance. Welcome, Pauline. We look forward to hearing about your research as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I also like to acknowledge the lands of the Whadjuk Noongar people upon which we are meeting today. And thank you for supporting me as an early career researcher with the Near Miss grant in the last round. So it's enabling me to run, I think, a very important pilot study, and it's already opened doors for new collaborations and many other opportunities. So thank you very much for that. So I assume that we all in this room are aware of the fact that melanoma is Australia's national cancer. And I hope everybody remembers that we're supposed to be having annual skin checks. Yes? See some guilty faces. Now I'm going to keep pushing this point because we know with cancers like melanoma, early diagnosis is absolutely crucial. What we're trying to do is prevent this cancer, if you do have it, from spreading to more distant parts of your body, giving you metastatic disease of this cancer, and then you end up having end-stage melanoma. Now, before the year 2011, patients with end-stage melanoma or stage 4 used to be told that they have about 6 to 9 months to live. There were actually quite a lot of treatment options available, but none of them substantially changed survival. Then in the year 2011, the first immune checkpoint inhibitor immunotherapy called ipilimumab was approved for use in exactly those patients, and ever since then the entire treatment landscape has changed. So these days we understand that it's actually that particular drug that is still used in combination with another immunotherapy that works really well. And these days we're talking about years of survival and not months, which is fantastic. Now, this has been so successful. It's used in many other cancers. It's used in the adjuvant setting of melanoma, and more recently, even people with just stage 2 melanoma, which is technically still early stage, now have access to that treatment. So really exciting times. However, all of this excitement doesn't come without problems, does it? We're talking about cancer here. So the bottom line is that despite all these findings, still about half of all the patients who undergo this treatment do not actually respond to immunotherapy, and we don't know why. We also know that if you are undergoing this therapy, there's a very high chance of you developing what are known as immune-related adverse events or side effects. Now, I'm perfectly aware that this image that I chose to put up there is really hard to read, and that's done on purpose because it's only a very short list of all the different things that can go wrong. Most of these side effects are of autoimmune nature, and we do know that the onset of when they occur actually matters. For example, we know that if you do have side effects very early on during treatment, that is actually positively associated with an increase in overall survival. In other words, it's the first indicator that the treatment is actually doing something and it's working. We know that people can also have delayed and long-lasting side effects, and sometimes you can even have side effects that are life-changing and you're going to have them all your life. Then the severity obviously matters. So we've got grades 3 and 4 are those side effects that will require hospitalization, and they will also require you to have corticosteroid treatment and other treatments which basically undoes what the cancer therapy is trying to do. So it's a bit of a problem. Now, I'm not the only person working in this space by any stretch of the imagination. There's many people working on this because we have this common problem. Today we still, despite all the research, can't actually accurately predict who's even going to respond to the therapy, who's going to have side effects, what sort of side effects you're going to have, and who's going to have those severe side effects that will require the hospitalization and all the additional treatment. So there's this clear unmet need that we need something like a monitoring tool or prediction tool to help us at baseline, so before you're undergoing the first injection, to predict whether you're going to respond, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I work in the cancer research program within the Center for Precision Health, and basically we have a long track record measuring and analyzing a wide range of blood-based biomarkers, and I lead the autoantibody research space. And many of the markers we're looking at are usually very specific to the cancer. The autoantibodies are more of a reflection of what's happening with the immune response. Now, the notion that autoantibodies could be used for cancer biomarkers is not a new one. I don't expect you to read this whole slide. This is just a snapshot of all the initial research that has gone into this space, and everything that's happened after 2014 is enough to fill another 4 slides, so I spared you with that today. We also know that there is a link between autoimmunity and cancer. For example, we know that if you do happen to have a certain type of cancer, there's either an increased or decreased risk of you developing certain autoimmune conditions later in life as well. Why exactly they're produced is a big question. There are many theories that have been suggested, and to be honest, it's probably a matter of there will be different explanations depending on which markers is identified. Nevertheless, antibodies are amazing biomarkers to work with. Not only do they reflect the immunological response toward the cancer, but they're easy to obtain from blood, fairly non-invasive, quite stable compared to other biomarkers, and more importantly, they represent an amplified signature that is very target-specific. So in other words, we actually have a chance at measuring something, and we know what it's detecting. So that's exactly what I propose to do in my NHMRC Ideas Grant, and this particular near miss award helps me to do part of that, to really generate some more data to hopefully make it through next time. So there are many different ways you can measure antibodies in cancer patients, autoantibodies as well. And the most comprehensive and high throughput way is the utilization of what is known as a HUPROT protein microarray. Now those microarrays you can only source from the manufacturer. They're called CDI Labs, they sit in the US, and it's exciting technology. It's the largest protein microarray in the world, and basically it gives you a fingerprint of every single person's autoantibody repertoire before they're even undertaking the treatment. In fact, for each and every single person that we're going to screen, we're going to get more than 21,000 readouts. And that's not even true either. We actually get double that because we can measure 2 different isotypes of antibodies at once. So really exciting. Now the aim is, it's actually 96 samples now that we've decided to utilize. So we're going to have 96 blood samples from patients with advanced stage melanoma who have given us blood before they even started their combination immunotherapy in this particular instance. And like I said, we're going to screen those samples on those huge arrays, going to get all these massive data readouts, and the idea is to analyze this data to understand whether or not there is a particular pattern that could predict a response before you even start the treatment, or could we predict side effects as well. Maybe there's a particular combination of those antibodies that could be used in a blood test one day to measure exactly those things. What's important here is also the fact that all this data can be analyzed comparing, say, 2 different groups, say people who responded versus those who didn't, but every single bit of data can be teased back to the individual as well. So for example, if there's somebody who had very particular set of side effects, we can have a look if we can actually see a link there. Why did they have that particular autoimmune side effect? So in terms of updates, so the grant's just been awarded. We've got until mid next year, and I've already sorted out the ethics, had many logistics meeting. We are now very fortunate to be able to collaborate with a new collaboration, Professor Helen Resource, on the cohort that we are using. So Professor Helen Resource is from the Melanoma Institute Australia and Macquarie University. She's principal investigator of a particular clinical trial they're running where they're looking at other types of biomarkers for a similar question. So they have like this amazing, very well-described cohort of melanoma patients, which is really hard to get hold of. And we're collaborating now, so we're using the same cohort, and she was excited about the comparison of her findings to our antibodies as well. So that's a new collaboration, which is exciting. Of course, I've been able to maintain my other collaborations with CDI Labs, who've given us a really nice discount for our HUPROT arrays. And we're going to run all these experiments here at ECU, and then we're going to drive to Curtin University, where we are allowed to use their microarray scanner, which is really hard to get in WA. And that is through a collaboration with Dr. Yu. Now, all this data, as you'll see in my last slide, which is next slide, I think AI analysis is really important because it's a huge data. And got a new collaboration with Dr. Shah is here as well. So that's an exciting aspect to the research also. Now, of course, we will have to go through every single person's medical history, and especially the side effects is quite a large number of files to go through. Now, I'm not a clinician, so I don't think it's my place to try and understand these things. So I'm really excited that we actually have a dedicated, currently practicing medical oncologist on board in the form of Dr. Aisha Gandhi to help us with that, because it's of course crucial to the success. Now, in terms of consumer involvement, so thank you for that, I actually have got one of our consumers who did have all these side effects as an investigator on the grant, and they've been involved all the way through from the idea to now the next updates, but there's always more that can be done. So focus groups is my next idea, but I learned that I really have to get my planning going. for that one. So thank you. And then finally, as always, I like to involve my research students in any research I do, and Desiree in particular will be crucial to the success of this study as well. So with that, I'd just like to recap what we're doing with this grant is not the whole plan of what I said in the NHMIC Ideas Grant, but definitely a really nice set of data is going to be generated. We're going to get more than 21,000 biomarker readouts times 2 times 96 people to hopefully find either a pattern or signature to predict at baseline if somebody's actually going to respond to these therapies and or if they're going to have side effects and what type and how severe or not. Now, we're obviously going to use our own statistical approaches to analyze this data, but as I said, AI analysis will add into that as well as our customers, our consumers and our clinician input also. And we are also doing pathway analysis because I believe any blood test that could come out of this should measure markers that don't just mean something statistically, but also biologically and probably more importantly, clinically. So with that, I would like to thank everyone who's been involved so far, and I'd like to thank ECU and the WA government for supporting me with this as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pauline. That's an amazing breadth of work that you've got, and it's fantastic to see such a multidisciplinary team. Do we have any questions for Pauline? I think you'd all agree she's another very worthy recipient of this near-miss program. For now, I think it's going to be phenomenal to see how much data that you collect, and I'm sure Nasir would probably be very keen to talk to you about that as well. We wish you continued success with your research, and congratulations again on receiving the near-miss grant. Thank you, Pauline. Thank you. Now, we're very fortunate to also have with us today Professor Archer Fox from the University of WA in the School of Human Sciences to share her vision for a centre for RNA therapeutics in cancer, including a local mRNA production facility with the support of the National Collaborative Research and Infrastructure Strategy and other partners. Archer is the chair of the RNA Network of Australia and is most well known for her discovery of RNA-based structures called paraspeckles in the cell nucleus. Please join with me to welcome Archer. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kristen. And I also would like to pay my respects to the Whadjuk Noongar people and their elders, past, present and emerging. So it's a really great, fantastic opportunity for me to be here today, and I'm going to give a little bit of a different talk to those you've heard, because I'm not reflecting on the past funding that I have received. What I'm instead going to present to you is a future vision for what I'm trying to build here in Western Australia, and the reason why I was asked to speak in this particular focus day on precision health, I hope you'll see as I go along. I'm really passionate about the power of RNA technology, and I think it genuinely will give us the opportunity to move towards precision treatments, and that's going to be the focus of what I'll talk to you about. So I have pitched to the Cancer Research Trust, which is a major WA-based charity, to set up the Australian Centre for RNA Therapeutics in Cancer here in WA. And we're eagerly awaiting the outcome of this. But what I would like to do in the meantime is just explain to you all the work I've put into this vision. And if any of you in the audience are thinking how you would like to get involved, please do reach out. That's the main, I think, purpose of this presentation, to really get the message out there. So this is our vision. We want to form a centre here in WA where cancer experts and RNA experts can work together with consumers and patient advocates to develop new therapies for cancer based on RNA technology. And what we want to do is improve cancer outcomes and also importantly help our WA-based cancer researchers to engage in the national excitement about RNA technology that is really one of the areas that nationally Australia wants to become a leader in. So this is the team of people that we have put together. We've had a really great buy-in from a lot of different cancer researchers and RNA experts, as well as computational biologists and biochemists from across the state. You can see some of the partner organisations we've got down there, as well as some experts from outside WA who are going to be helping us on this journey. And I've got in there the Cancer Research Trust, you can see, who would be our major funding partner for this program. We've got a great network of early career researchers, as well as mid-career researchers and clinicians on board with this project that I'm going to be describing to you today. And I'm sure you'll see a lot of familiar faces there. So, as Pauline has really beautifully, sorry, I've lost where she was. There she is. She's just beautifully described to you how immunotherapy has been revolutionary for particular cancers, but we do need more cancer treatments. And these waterfall plots just show that for some cancer subtypes, like you can see there for melanoma, in green we have those people who respond to the immunotherapy and their tumours shrink. But unfortunately, of course, we do have in red or pink those non-responders. And then when we look at some other cancer subtypes, we really don't get as good a response to immunotherapy. There is, of course, even those who do respond, but then they relapse. There is also issues with this is still quite a sophisticated cancer treatment, and so if we're thinking about everybody who suffers from cancer, this immunotherapy is not available to all. And really we have the issue of moving towards truly personalised therapies, and I hope what I'll give you a little taste of today is that through RNA technology as a genetic medicine, we might be able to move towards actually having a tailored treatment, perhaps individualised for each person. So our vision is that RNA could be the next generation of individualised and personalised cancer therapies. And I've just got that diagram on the right there that some of you might be familiar with, the hallmarks of cancer. RNA as a modality has the potential to address all of these common features of cancer that drive disease. So it has a broad spectrum of targets that RNA can tackle. We know from the mRNA vaccines against COVID that it is safe. We know it's potent, and really importantly with RNA technology, it is fast to design and manufacture. And that is, I think, at the heart of trying to move towards an individualised therapy. Our vision is that one day we will be able to make small batch, GMP grade, individualised therapies that could potentially be tailored for each person. It is also potentially much lower cost. So cell therapy is really the new wave of cancer treatment that is coming online, but it is extremely expensive, between $500,000 and $1 million per patient for cell therapy. And this is an amazing science, but it is, from a health economics point of view, a bit of a ticking time bomb. As more people are going to require this therapy, it's going to become a big burden on our health system. So we need to find other approaches that are going to potentially be lower cost. You can see in that chart there that we do have monoclonal antibodies that are predicted to be roughly a similar cost to a personalised mRNA vaccine. But then when we come down to an RNA therapy that might be against a common tumour antigen, this is going to be much cheaper again. The other thing about RNA therapies, and again, as I'll explain, we need innovation here, is there is potential for it to be a more portable or accessible treatment. This is coming back to the understanding that in our huge state, we do have disparity with regional patients who have to travel to the major centres for their cancer treatment. We saw with the mRNA vaccines against COVID that we could have this regional rollout, although of course we did have the temperature sensitivity issues. So many researchers around the world are innovating to increase the stability of RNA therapies, and we're hoping that when that is done, we can then roll out to have more regional access. So in terms of innovation, we now have FDA-approved therapies based on RNA in siRNA, antisense oligos, and mRNA, but there is a lot that can still be worked on to improve this technology. And that's really where we see the opportunity for research and partly the opportunity for establishing our centre. So we need to figure out just how we would have workflows for making individual targeted therapies. There's a lot of work to be done in terms of finding the right, identifying the targets and thinking about combining different targets into individual nanoparticles. We can improve the way RNAs are designed, we can improve the way they're manufactured, and importantly, and most critically, how to deliver these therapies to the right cells in the body and the mode of delivery. Finally, in terms of regulation, if anybody here is working on therapeutics, you will know that the regulatory aspect is extremely critical. And because RNA is a platform technology, there is the opportunity for a much easier regulatory burden, because if the platform stays the same but the only thing that changes each time is the individual sequence, this is actually a whole new regulatory ballgame, and the TGA in Australia is going to be, I've been talking to them, they want to be innovating in this space. So this is the vision for our centre. We start first and foremost from people living with cancer. Then what we do is we build on the years of amazing oncology research that many of our cancer researchers in this state have already been undertaken. What we're funding are pilot projects to connect cancer researchers with RNA innovators to help them develop individual RNA products. And supporting those pilots, as you can see there is these strands, we have a new RNA production facility which will focus on messenger RNA technology. We have expertise in RNA innovation, which we're going to use that to help these researchers, and also an enabling pillar on training, because we need to have the researchers involved in these projects trained in entrepreneurship and commercialisation so they can take the products they're developing right through that translational pathway to the clinic. And what we're hoping with this centre is that we can help to build our biotech sector here in WA. We want each of these pilots to be leading to spin-out companies. We want each of them to be developing a new therapy. And importantly, we want them to be developing each a platform approach that can then be applied to future pilot programs that might be addressing different cancer subtypes. So I mentioned there about RNA production. We have been successful with the NCRIS scheme through Therapeutic Innovation Australia to have WA become a new node within their RNA capability. So there is an existing mRNA production facility at UQ in Brisbane, and you can see there that's the base facility. And NCRIS, TIA has been successful in securing funding to establish 3 new nodes for its RNA capability, including one here in WA. So this is going to focus on mRNA. So anybody who wants to develop an mRNA product, now I would say this is, it doesn't have to be limited to cancer, although cancer is going to be the specialty area of our node. Please do get in touch, because the aim of this lab, this facility, is to provide preclinical mRNA for you to test in your models. And you can see I've also got Rakesh Vidu there from Syngenis. That's because we already have here in Perth the ability to make antisense oligonucleotides and short RNA. What we're doing with this facility is filling a gap where we couldn't previously make at scale messenger RNA for researchers to test. The other thing about this network of RNA production centres run by TIA is that we're going to be a really important intermediary between the researcher and the big commercial players. So I've got them down there on the bottom. So we have Moderna that is setting up its manufacturing in Melbourne. We also have BioNTech, Myeloid Therapeutics, which is setting up in New South Wales. So these are the entities who will commercialise your products, and this network of NCRIS-funded preclinical or research-grade production facilities will be the intermediaries to help you partner with those entities as well. So this is the incubator model that we're going to have for our pilot projects. So we really want to wrap around these concepts, the technology in RNA and delivery, to help these cancer researchers take their RNA products from concept through to the clinic. So as I mentioned, we will be providing RNA material for them to test with their models, and different pilots are at different stages on this translational pipeline. So we've identified several potential pilot projects, and should we be fortunate enough to be awarded funding, we will finalise these and kick off the centre. So I've got here 4 of those pilots. So we have a lung cancer personalised vaccine platform, and this is based on the work of Bruce Robinson at UWA. We have a triple-negative breast cancer epigenetic modifier platform. This is bringing together the work of Ryan Lister and Pilar Blancafort with the organoid work of Ben Dwyer. We have the sarcoma surgical immunomodulation platform. This is building on the work of Joost Lesterhuis at TKI. And finally, the pancreatic tumour microenvironment platform, which will be based at the Harry Perkins, building on the work of Ruth Gantz and Juliana Hamza. And all of these pilots are multidisciplinary, so they bring together the people who have expertise in the mouse models or the organoids to test these therapeutics, as well as those who have innovation in RNA delivery and design. Here is just a snapshot of one of these pilots and what we ultimately think would be a future workflow for, in this case, a personalised cancer vaccine. So the workflow would be that the patient biopsy is profiled with sequencing to identify the neoantigens in that tumour. Then messenger RNA is designed that encodes those neoantigens. That is then injected into the patient so that their immune system can mount an immune response against those tumour-specific neoantigens. Moderna and BioNTech already have phase 2 and 3 clinical trials underway for particular personalised therapy platforms in combination with checkpoint inhibitors. So what we're proposing is to join that effort with a focus on lung cancer here. So that's just one example of how RNA technology could really be the future for individualised therapies in cancer. So in summary, what we're hoping for with our centre is to provide a broad breakthrough impact to many different cancer subtypes in WA, helping many different researchers in the state. We want this to be a really enabling technology so that we can develop platform approaches where each time for an individual cancer, what might change is the target and the particular sequence, but the broad innovation in delivery or manufacture, those problems will have already been solved. This is a highly feasible centre because we're actually building on great collaborative work that is already going on in WA, but we're just trying to enable that by providing them with the RNA to test. And finally, I think this is really going to be hopefully an exciting and viable option to try and get around some of the sledgehammer type chemotherapies that currently cancer patients have to live with. It is a long-term goal, but one day perhaps we can have truly individualised therapies for cancer. Thank you.
Thank you, Archer, for sharing that really amazing and vision for the new program, and we will keep our fingers and toes crossed for the funding coming through. Is there a quick question for Archer before she returns to the audience? I think it was a wonderful welcome invitation that you provided everyone with as well to come and talk to you about. Yes, thank you again, Archer. Most appreciated. And your presentation provided a wonderful segue to our last speaker for this morning, and that is Associate Professor Rakesh Vidhu. And Rakesh has a dual appointment and is Head of Precision Nucleic Acid Therapeutics Research within the Joint Murdoch University and Perrin Institute Centre for Molecular Medicine and Innovative Therapeutics. And as Archer mentioned, he's also founding and managing director of Syngenis, a precision health startup company right here in WA. It is state-of-art DNA, RNA and chemically modified oligonucleotide synthesis facility. Please welcome Rick Rees. Thank you.
Okay, before I start, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Department of Health and Jody for the invitation. And indeed, I am delighted to be here. So I'm based at Center for Molecular Medicine and Innovative Therapeutics of Murdoch University. And my research is focused on developing precision small RNA therapeutics for various diseases, including rare and acquired diseases, and combine them specifically to a delivery cargo molecule to deliver them specifically to the disease sites within our body. So, not sure if you have seen this Time magazine cover earlier. So if not, I really like this cover, mainly because it really highlights that amazing new medicines can be based on DNA, or genetic material. So that was way back in 2001, at the same time as human genome sequencing. So as you all know, that our genetic information is stored in the form of a long twisty molecule called DNA, and the information is really passed through genetic messages, pre and mature, called messenger RNA, which then translated into proteins for various functions of our daily life. And as you appreciate, it's a very complex process, so there can be potential errors, and that could potentially lead to diseases, mainly because of the regulation, the wrong regulation of the proteins. Traditional small molecule drugs normally target these proteins directly to prevent their further mechanism of action. But we can also use nucleic acid-based therapeutics, small RNA approaches to target at a very early stage, at the messenger RNA stage, to control or regulate the expression of these proteins. So there are so many small RNA drugs currently approved for therapy for various diseases. So there are around 15 of them currently approved for treatments. So today I'd like to highlight Melicin. You see that small, beautiful little girl, Mela Makovic, in the center. And next to her is Professor Tim Yu, my colleague at Boston Children's Hospital. He diagnosed Mela with an extremely rare disease called Batten disease, mainly because of a mutation in CLN7 gene. And she's actually sitting next to her mom, Julia. Julia actually raised around $3 million through crowdfunding to develop a therapy for Mela. And Tim and his colleagues, including my mentor, Sutir, came up with an antisense drug called Melicin that could correct the mutation and come up with a treatment for Mela. So the reason I highlighted this story here is mainly because the diagnosis, the whole process, starting from the diagnosis to the injection, all happened within 10 months' time. And that really highlights or demonstrates the impact of small RNA medicine that can be used to tailor, make a drug for each patient. So just last week in Barcelona, at the Oligotherapeutic Society meeting, Julia was awarded with a prestigious patient advocacy award. And that was a proud moment for all of us, and I was there, and also Tim, standing next to her. So it was an excellent achievement, and that's really a powerful story to highlight our research. So I obviously have been very fortunate enough to be awarded with multiple research grants from the Department of Health. 3 merit awards, which means I had been writing some good quality NHMRC grants, which unfortunately, did not go over the line, but it was so close. But still, I was recognized here in WA with some funding to do a bit of research. But we've made to a successful NHMRC grant in 2021. And then a COVID-19 grant in 2020 to develop a rapid test to diagnose COVID. And then part of 2 FHRI funds, one in 21 and 22, together with my colleague Jost and through TKI. So with the near-miss merit awards, we have investigated the potential of various chemically modified antisense molecules to induce alternate splicing. And we have published those papers. Today I'd like to briefly mention about one of those developments here. So, as you all know, that 3 of the FDA-approved small RNA antisense drug for the treatment of Duchenne muscular dystrophy developed right here in WA by Professor Steve Woolton and Steve Fletcher. It's actually made of a chemistry called phosphorodiamidate morpholino, which is what you see on the screen. But there are some limitations associated with this drug. They require high administration dosages, and that's mainly because they are rapidly cleared through kidney, and they also show very poor cellular uptake. So they're normally made of this monomer developed by Jim Somerton in late 80s. And unfortunately, that is not compatible to a standard DNA production chemistry using solid phase phosphoramidite chemistry. So a large-scale production or ton-scale production of this chemistry is extremely challenging. So in 2016, my group developed a variant of phosphorodiamidate morpholino chemistry, and we call them as morpholino nucleic acid, and it is actually compatible with the standard DNA production chemistry in a machine. And using that molecule, we have constructed an antisense drug, an antisense molecule, and we investigated the potential to induce splice switching. And it wasn't found to be very efficient, but it really worked to induce splice modulation. And after that initial work with my mentor, Professor Marv Garatas at the Uni of Colorado, and funding from his family foundation, we have developed another variant of morpholinos called thiomorpholinos. The only difference to my previous morpholino nucleic acid is that the morpholino nitrogen atom is directly connected to the phosphorus atom, just like the way it is in PMOs. And then we evaluated the potential of thiomorpholinos. So for that, we used Duchenne muscular dystrophy as a model system. So, you know, DMD is a serious muscle wasting disorder, mainly affecting boys. And individuals with DMD lack a protein called dystrophin, which is apparently one of the largest genes with 79 exons. So there are multiple mutations in one or more exons or deletions of certain exons that really disrupt the reading frame and ablates the functional expression of dystrophin protein. So we use exon 23 deletion as a model. So for that, we have constructed a thiomorpholino antisense molecule that can specifically target the exon 23 and delete that specific exon in MDX mice myotubes in vitro. So for that purpose, first we have constructed a 20-mer fully modified thiomorpholino antisense molecule, and in parallel we also constructed a 20-mer PMO, standard PMO molecule as well. And then we have transfected into the MDX mice myotubes in vitro using lipofectin as a transfectional reagent. And we have incubated overnight for about 20, and next day we have isolated the RNA, and then from the RT-PCR analysis, And here we find that the TMO could efficiently induce splice switching at a very low nanomolar concentration. Whereas if you look at the PMO side, it was not inducing any exon skipping at all, which was not very surprising because PMO conventionally not transfected using conventional transfection reagents, mainly because that's a charged neutral compound and it doesn't complex very well with conventional lipid-based transfection reagents. So they instead electroporated. So we also conducted a standard electroporation experiment. And here we can see both TMO and PMO induces efficient exon 23 deletion. Then we compared their potential using naked transfection. Here we did not use any transfection methodologies at all. All we did is basically supplemented TMO and PMO to the myotubes and incubated for over a period of 5 days. And here we could see that the TMO could induce some exon 23 deletion, whereas the PMO failed to induce any exon 23 skipping. And we also compared the potential of thiamorphilinose with conventional negatively charged, which are currently used in the approved drug platform, like 2' omethyl and 2' omethoxyethyl chemistries. And here we find all of those chemistries work very well to induce exon 23 deletion. Whereas if you look at TMO, that was very active at low concentration compared with other chemistries, 2' omethyl and 2' MOE, which really tells that TMO is very active at low nanomolar concentration. Now, for the commercial development of thiamorphilinose-based antisense and other oligonucleotide therapeutics, small RNA medicines, Marv and I co-founded a company called Progenis Pharmaceuticals. So at Progenis, we are actually developing therapeutics for type 2 diabetes, Rett syndrome, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, multiple sclerosis, and some undisclosed disease indications as well. And the diabetes and the multiple sclerosis are advanced to preclinical stage studies. And these are all thiamorphilinose-modified antisense drug pipelines. And for the manufacturing of thiamorphilinose, Syngenis has got the license for this molecule, so we will be making the chemistry of thiamorphilinose through Syngenis. And I thank Archer for mentioning Syngenis as a WA organization that can actually manufacture all kinds of small RNA or DNA oligonucleotides for therapeutics and diagnostic applications in various scales from small micrograms or nanograms to gram scale. And with my COVID research grant, we were able to develop a nucleic acid aptamer that can specifically target the spike protein. And using that, we were able to develop a lateral flow test that can specifically detect spike protein from samples. So that I've got about 40 kits sitting in my lab. Unfortunately, we didn't hit the market, but there were smart people ahead of me. So with antibody approaches, but still, we didn't see any aptamer on the market. So we were still so proud what we were able to do, and the government for their wonderful support at the right time. And for those two FHRI funding, so I don't want to talk the second one because that Jost should be able to speak more on that because he led the project. And the first one, in 2021, we were awarded with a RTP grant, so mainly to develop a precision molecular paper-based strip test for neurodegenerative condition. So as you know, that when there is neuronal injury, a specific protein called neurofilament light protein is actually released. So our idea was actually to develop a nucleic acid aptamer specific to neurofilament light proteins, which could give us yes or no answer if there are neurofilament light proteins present in biological fluids. So we developed this aptamer through a panning process called systematic evolution of ligands by exponential enrichment approach. So we are now in the process of developing this. So once we develop again, we will have a kind of lateral flow test, mainly to diagnose early neurodegenerative conditions at a very early stage. And if you'd like to know more about small RNA therapeutic and diagnostic development, so we have a conference coming up in November, end of November. So please do register for the conference if you'd like to know more. So finally, I really would like to thank my team and also all of my collaborators and funding agencies for their wonderful support and collaboration. And thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Rakesh, for that incredibly interesting presentation. It's fantastic to see the commercialisation aspect of your research as well. Do we have a quick question for Rakesh? We're nearing the end of our morning. I'm sure people will come and talk to you during the lunch break coming up. Thank you again, Rakesh, and thank you very much to all our amazing presenters today. I think you'll agree they've been incredibly interesting presentations and that have really highlighted the wonderful work that's going on here in Western Australia and how the FHRI Fund can actually help amplify that work. I think you'll also agree that precision health is an exciting field and that WA has existing strengths in this area, which we have become very evident through this morning's presentations. Yet importantly, WA is well placed with great potential to make even more of a significant impact on shifting healthcare from being aimed at improving outcomes for the average health consumer towards having a more precise and personalised approach at both the individual and the population level. As an evolving field, precision health will adapt and transform over time by incorporating innovation and discovery and leveraging technological advances such as those involving consumer-focused devices, digital and geospatial technologies, big data and artificial intelligence. And it will undoubtedly be the combination of a range of these techniques, like we've seen here today, delivered by multidisciplinary teams, that will enable the realisation of the full potential of this approach to healthcare delivery, and I think we'll all agree it's very exciting. This concludes the presentations for today's FHRI Fund Open Day event, which is focused on the precision health. I was just checking. And if anyone has questions related to the FHRI Fund programs and initiatives over the cycle, please visit the website, and also you're welcome to email the OMRI team, which is at doh.omri@health.wa.gov.au. And as we heard from Nasia, please very much feel welcome to approach the team. Speaking about the team, I think you'll agree that they've done a fantastic job in coordinating today's event, along with our co-hosts at the Cowth University. So can we please thank our co-hosts for today? Thank you very much for your wonderful participation and patience. I know it's been a really long morning and you've all behaved extremely well. And thank you very much also to those who are joining us virtually. We appreciate that you participating too. Unfortunately, the light refreshments for lunch are only available if you're here in person. We still haven't got those 3D printers in individual homes yet, so you can't dial that up. But if you are here, please join with us now to mingle and network with the fellow attendees for this morning. So thank you again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.